The patrol car smells like old coffee and bad decisions. Marcus keeps glancing in the rear view mirror at David. The man is just sitting there, calm, like he's waiting for a bus. It bothers Marcus more than if David was yelling or fighting. No ID, no story, no rights to this city. You people always push boundaries. Well, today somebody pushed back. David doesn't react, just speaks quietly. Officer, when we get to the station, check my fingerprints carefully. Very carefully, Marcus laughs. Because that's the funniest thing he's heard all week. Oh, we'll check them. Run every database. And when they come back clean, you'll still get charged. Trespassing. Disorderly conduct. Resisting arrest. David leans back. There's something in his voice now that should make Marcus pause. When those results come back, Officer Reed, you're going to need a lawyer. A very good lawyer. Not for me. For yourself. Roy shifts uncomfortably in the passenger seat. Glances at David in the mirror. Reed, just drive. We'll handle this by the book. The radio crackles. All units, this is dispatch. FBI liaison requesting immediate. Roy reaches over and turns the volume down. Almost to zero. Radio interference. We'll deal with it later. Marcus nods. Because that's what junior officers do. They trust their captain. Big mistake. The station. They pull into the station 8 minutes later. Marcus gets out. Opens the back door. Yanks David out by his arm. Come on. Let's get you processed. The walk through the station is designed to humiliate. Officers look up. See a black man in cuffs. Look away. Routine. Normal. Just another Tuesday. But Officer Sandra Mills watches David's face as he passes. Everything about this feels wrong. She stands up. Captain, what's the charge? Roy doesn't slow down. Trespassing, resisting, disorderly, standard booking, Mills. She stays standing, watching. They bring David to the booking area. Officer Tony Ramos is waiting with his fingerprint scanner. Let's ID this guy, Tony says with bored efficiency. Marcus uncuffs one wrist, but keeps hold of David's arm. Tony presses David's fingers onto the scanner, thumb, index, middle, ring, pinky. The computer processes. Everyone waits. Then it beeps, loud, urgent. The screen flashes, red. Bold text appears. Match. Found David Walker, FBI Director, Priority Alpha Notify. Department of Justice immediately. Marcus leans in. His face goes white. Actually loses all color. Captain, that says. Roy moves like lightning. Shoves Marcus aside. Slams the laptop shut with a bang that echoes through the booking area. Malfunction. System glitch. Database has been buggy all week. Marcus stares at Roy, trying to process. But sir, it specifically said FBI. Roy's voice drops to that tone that means obey. I said it's a malfunction, Reed. False positive. We use backup protocol, manual processing. Standard procedure when tech fails. Marcus swallows. Nods slowly. Yes, sir. But doubt is screaming in his head now. Tony is frozen. Staring at the laptop. Captain, federal protocol requires immediate reporting of priority alpha alerts. Roy cuts him off with a look that could stop a charging bull. Officer Ramos, you follow my orders in my station. Clear that alert. Manual processing. Now, Tony hesitates for 3 seconds. That will haunt him forever. Then he opens the laptop. Starts clicking. Clearing the alert from the screen. What none of them know. The alert auto-saved to federal servers the instant it triggered. Every keystroke logged. Every action time-stamped. Every deletion documented. Clearing the local screen doesn't erase FBI records. It just adds suppression of federal notification to the list of crimes. Sandra is 10 feet away. She didn't see the exact words, but she saw Roy's panic, heard his tone, watched him slam that laptop to hide something. This feels bigger than department politics. This feels like an explosion waiting to happen. Marcus walks David toward the holding cells. Roy following close. They take his belongings. Marcus pockets David's phone instead of bagging it as evidence. Another violation Roy ignores. They put David in a cell, gray walls, metal bench, bars that lock with a sound like finality. David sits down calmly, closes his eyes, starts counting in his head. Outside, Sandra pulls out her phone, makes notes. She doesn't know what she witnessed exactly, but she knows it was wrong. Roy thinks he just saved himself by hiding that alert. What he actually did was arm the weapon about to destroy his career. Federal servers never forget. Federal logs never lie. 8 minutes until the FBI walks through that door. The realization. Officer James Carter walks into the station 15 minutes after the arrest, still thinking about the man at the park who looked so familiar. He spots Marcus at the coffee machine, grinning like he just won Officer of the Year. "Reed, heard you brought someone in from Riverside," James says, grabbing a cup for cover. Marcus's chest puffs out. "Yeah, troublemaker at the memorial bench. Captain and I handled it. Guy's in holding where he belongs." James's blood goes cold. That's exactly where he was with his son. "I'll check the booking log," he says casually. He walks to holding. When he looks through the cell window and sees the man sitting there with eyes closed and hands folded, every memory clicks into place at once. FBI Assistant Director David Walker. 7 years ago, the man who saved James's career. The memory slams into him. 25-year-old James, handcuffed in an interrogation room. A corrupt sergeant forcing him to sign a confession for evidence James never touched. Career about to die before it started. Then the door opened. This calm man in an FBI vest said 5 words. "I'm taking this case now." Walker spent 3 days investigating. Found the real culprit. Cleared James completely. Before leaving, he said words James has carried ever since. "Integrity isn't convenient, Officer Carter. It's necessary. When you see something wrong, you speak up, even when it costs everything." Remember that, James remembered. For 7 years. And now that man is in a cell because Marcus and Roy arrested the FBI director. "Oh my God," James whispers. He needs backup. Finds Sandra at her desk. She looks like she's been waiting for someone to confirm her suspicions. "Mills, evidence room, now." When they're alone, James doesn't waste time. "That man they arrested? FBI Director David Walker. My old boss, the man who saved my career 7 years ago." Sandra's eyes go wide. "Does Roy know?" Roy saw the fingerprint match and slammed the laptop shut. Claimed malfunction. James pulls up Marcus's body cam footage from the park. What they see makes them sick. Marcus's aggression. The newspaper ripping. The shove. David forced to his knees. The little girl crying. All in high definition. Marcus's voice echoes. "You people always push boundaries." "Federal civil rights violation," Sandra says quietly. "Multiple counts." James checks the system logs. "Sandra, look. Roy manually dismissed the FBI alert at 4:44 p.m., priority alpha. Automatic DOJ notification. Roy shut it down. Ordered Ramos to clear it." "Obstruction of justice," Sandra whispers. "Conspiracy." He knew who David was. James opens another folder. "Look at this. Marcus and Roy's complaint history." The folder opens. 23 complaint files. All dismissed. All buried by Roy. They start reading. First file. Marcus pulled over a man named Kevin Brown 6 months ago. Video shows Marcus's hand going to his pocket, then pulling out drugs from Kevin's trunk. Drugs that weren't there seconds before. Kevin screaming, "That's not mine!" Marcus cuffed him, smiling. Kevin spent 8 months in jail before charges were dropped. Lost his job. Lost custody of his daughter. He planted it, Sandra covers her mouth. Second file. A woman named Maria Rodriguez. Outside her kid's elementary school. Marcus said she was loitering. She explained she was picking up her children. He cuffed her in front of the school. Her kids screaming. Teachers intervening. The notes say her children now have anxiety disorders. Therapy twice weekly. Third file. A man named Andre Johnson. Video shows Andre compliant. Hands visible. Marcus's baton comes down once, twice, 3 times. Andre cuffed, defenseless. Beating continues. Medical report. Broken ribs. 47,000 in medical bills. Permanent damage. Roy's report. Justified force. 23 cases. 23 destroyed lives, all buried. This is systematic, Sandra says, shaking. James checks something else. Sandra, look at the security cameras. The monitors show every camera with a small red light. What am I seeing? Those aren't our indicators. Ours are green. James pulls up access logs. Someone accessed our cameras remotely. Federal level. Activated at 2:30 this afternoon, 2 hours before David was arrested. Understanding hits them both. This was a trap, Sandra says. David knew. The FBI's been watching everything. James checks timestamps. They've seen everything. Roy suppressing alerts. Marcus's violations. Us right now. What do we do? James pulls out a USB drive. Starts copying files. Document everything. Every case. Every victim. When this explodes, Roy will try to bury what he can. We need backups. He hands Sandra a second drive. You take one. I take one. Insurance. Sandra copies files. If they find out, then we go down doing what's right, James says. Files finish copying. James checks dispatch. 6 missed calls from federal liaison. All ignored by Roy. Sandra looks at the monitors. Those red lights. They're not calling anymore. They're here, watching, waiting. James slips the USB drive next to his body camera. Roy thinks he's covering up. He's adding charges. They leave separately. James walks past David's cell. David's eyes open, looking directly at him. David gives the smallest nod. James nods back, touches his pocket where the evidence is. Walks away. 6 minutes until the FBI arrives. Marcus and Roy still think they won. Washington, D.C., FBI headquarters. Deputy Director Rachel. Chen's phone lights up with an alert that makes her drop her coffee. The liquid spreads across her desk as she reads words that shouldn't be possible. Director Walker flagged in custody Arlington PD alert, suppressed by local authority. She's on her feet instantly. Grabbing her office phone while pulling up Arlington PD's live camera feeds on her computer. The camera feeds load. There's David, sitting calmly in a holding cell like he's waiting for a bus. Rachel dials the Attorney General. He picks up on the second ring. Sir, we have a situation. Director Walker is in custody at Arlington PD, off-duty arrest. They suppressed federal alerts. We need to move. Silence. Then the AG's voice comes through, cold and precise. Mobilize tactical. Full team. I want them to see federal vehicles and realize it's over. How fast can you get there? Rachel's already moving. 12 minutes. Then go. I'm authorizing extraction. If Walker's in danger, pull him out. If not, let it play out how he wants. I guarantee he's got a plan. 3 black SUVs leave FBI headquarters 4 minutes later. Engines quiet. Lights dark. 2 U.S. Marshal vehicles join at the Arlington border. Together, they move like sharks through water. Federal authority about to crush a small station that arrested the wrong man. Rachel's in the lead vehicle. She makes one more call. Directly to Arlington PD. A cheerful receptionist answers. Arlington Police Department. How may I? FBI Deputy Director Rachel Chen. Connect me to Captain Roy Miller. Federal emergency. The cheerfulness dies. Ma'am, Captain Miller is unavailable and cannot... Rachel cuts her off. This is not a request. You have 30 seconds to connect me, or federal agents will be at your desk charging you with obstruction. Transfer me, now. Click, hold, click. Roy's voice, irritated. Captain Miller, what's this about? Rachel doesn't ease in. Captain Miller, FBI Deputy Director Rachel Chen, you have FBI Director David Walker in custody. You arrested a federal official. Suppressed priority alpha alerts. You have 6 minutes to release him or I arrive with 40 agents and end your career. Understand? She hears Roy's breathing change. Deputy Director, there's been a misunderstanding. We arrested a suspect for trespassing and the system identified him as FBI Director at 4:44 p.m. and you suppressed the alert. We have the logs, Captain. We have everything. 5 minutes. Clock's ticking. Roy's voice gets desperate. If we release him without charges, it looks like we knew. You did know. You saw the screen. You slammed the laptop. Ramos witnessed it. The server logged it. You knew exactly who he was. 4 minutes. Use them wisely. She hangs up. Roy stares at the dead phone. Councilman Frank Torres walks in. Face pale, he was listening at the door. Roy, was that the FBI? About the man in holding? Roy looks at Frank with eyes that have accepted defeat. That man we arrested? He's the FBI director. Federal agents are 4 minutes away. Frank's legs give out. He drops into a chair. You knew? When? Fingerprint scanner. Priority Alpha. I thought I could... You thought you could hide it? Frank finishes. Bury a federal alert? Arrest the FBI director and nobody would notice? 10 seconds of silence. What do we do? Frank asks. Roy stares at nothing. If we release him, we admit we knew. If we keep him and the FBI comes, it's worse. Can we make a deal? In 4 minutes? They don't want deals. They want us in handcuffs. Outside, 3 SUVs are 3 minutes away. Rachel watches the live feeds on her tablet. Roy and Frank panicking. David sitting in his cell, calm. 3 minutes until everything ends. Roy and Frank don't know the countdown. Already hit 0 when they cuffed the wrong man. The reckoning. Roy and Frank sprint to the holding cell like the building's on fire. Marcus has never seen his captain look this terrified. What's happening? Marcus asks. Roy's already yanking David from the cell. No explanation. Just pure panic. They drag David into an interrogation room. Throw him into a chair. David sits calmly. Hands cuffed in front now. A small mercy Roy granted because he's desperately trying to de-escalate what's already beyond control. Roy sits across from David, trying to sound official. Sir, there's been confusion about your identity. If you cooperate, we can resolve this quickly. David looks at Roy with eyes that know exactly how this ends. Cooperate? I've been cooperative for 57 minutes while you violated my rights, suppressed federal alerts, and committed felonies that'll destroy you. Marcus feels sick now. Captain, what's he? Roy cuts him off with a look. Reed, quiet. David's voice fills the room like thunder. Officer Reed wants to know what I'm talking about. You ripped a newspaper from my hands, threw it in my face, shoved me against a bench, forced me to my knees in front of 80 witnesses, including a 5-year-old girl who cried and asked her mother why you were being mean. That's deprivation of rights under color of law, federal civil rights violations, all on camera, all career-ending. Marcus goes white, actually loses all color. Frank steps forward with his politician voice. Gentlemen, let's take a breath. I'm sure we can reach an understanding. David's eyes shift to Frank. The councilman's charm dies instantly. Councilman Torres. City oversight meetings. You asked 17 very specific questions about FBI resources over 8 months. I answered everyone. You smiled at me. Thought you were being careful. Frank goes pale. I don't know what. 89 million in fraudulent contracts. Wire fraud. Money laundering. Racketeering. I wasn't just answering your questions, Councilman. I was investigating you. Every meeting. Every smile. Building your case. Silence. Except for Frank's breathing, which sounds like drowning. Roy's begging now. Please, we can make this disappear. No charges. Just sign a release. We all walk away. David laughs. Cold. Make this disappear? This was documented by 47 cameras, 80 witnesses, and live streamed to FBI headquarters. You can't erase federal crimes because you're scared. Marcus finds his voice. You're actually FBI? David stands. And even cuffed, he owns that room. In 6 minutes, Officer Reed, you'll wish you'd asked my name. In 7, you'll wish you'd never touched me. In 8, you'll hear sirens. In 9, you'll be wearing these handcuffs. And there's nothing you can do to stop it. Marcus's knees buckle. He grabs the wall. Roy tries again. We didn't know. David's voice cuts like a blade. You did know. At 4:44 p.m., your screen said FBI Director. You slammed the laptop. Ramos saw it. Reed saw it. The server logged it. You knew exactly who I was and arrested me anyway. That's not ignorance. That's conspiracy. Frank fumbles for his phone. No signal. Screen says no service. His hands shake. David watches Frank struggle. Looking for your connections? Your judges? None of them can help. You tried to bury justice. Justice doesn't bury. It explodes. That's when they hear it. Sirens. Distant but closing fast. Multiple vehicles. Roy runs to the window. What he sees makes him grab the frame to stay standing. 3 black SUVs. 2 marshal vehicles, all pulling into the parking lot. Marcus whispers, "Captain, what do we—" The door explodes open. Deputy Director Rachel Chen walks in with 6 FBI agents. All in tactical vests, all armed. Rachel's voice is winter cold. Nobody move. She walks straight to David. An agent steps forward with keys. Unlocks the handcuffs with a click. Director Walker, are you injured? David holds up his wrists. Red marks? Already darkening to bruises. Minor. Nothing that won't heal. I'll be fine, Deputy Director. Roy, Marcus, and Frank stand frozen against the wall. Roy's face flashes with something that might be hope. Deputy Director Chen, if we could just explain the situation properly, there was clearly a misunderstanding. Rachel cuts him off without looking at him. Save every word for your attorney, Captain Miller. You're going to need them. She turns back to David. Director, your wife is waiting outside. She's been extremely worried. Take whatever time you need. We'll handle the processing. David nods. My belongings were confiscated. I'll need my phone and wallet. Marcus pulls David's phone from his pocket with trembling hands. Everyone in that room knows keeping it on his person instead of logging it into evidence is just one more violation. Here, sir. I was going to properly document it. Keep your excuses, David says, taking his belongings. He walks out of that interrogation room without another glance at the 3 men who thought they could arrest the FBI director and escape consequences. Every officer in the station stops and watches him pass. Word has spread like wildfire. They arrested the director, the actual FBI director, and now federal agents are everywhere, and careers are ending in real time. James Carter and Sandra Mills stand near reception. When David passes, James gives the smallest nod. I did what you taught me. I chose integrity.